Hello Australia, I'm Mike Raymond. Welcome to Brisbane's Lakeside Raceway and of course round 4 of the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship. Well, will the Fords hold sway today here at Lakeside? Alan Moffat, you're a converted Ford man.
Well, I don't have to be too hard to be converted, Mike. They've got a good chance. Certainly Dick Johnson's home circuit, Glenn on pole yesterday, shows that they've got form. Alan Jones drew the luck of the dash and had one under his belt already. I think they're in with a real shoehorn for sure.
Well, of course, Holden had problems here yesterday. Some problems for Thomas Mazera going off the circuit not once, twice or 3 times, spoiling the front air dam on the car. Larry Perkins coming up on a slower car in practice. They had precious little time on the track yesterday, around sideways and almost clouted there by Tony Longhurst. Then, of course, a little joy yesterday for Wayne Gardner, our World 500cc motorcycle champion. The conversion from Honda to Holden hasn't been the best for Wayne Gardner. So after yesterday, Glenn Seaton on pole of 52.52 over John Bowe in the Shell Falcon of 52.62. Then Dick Johnson, the second of the Shell Falcons, Peter Brock in the Mobil 1 Commodore, Alan Jones in the Peter Jackson Falcon, and of course Jimmy Richards in the Winfield Commodore VP. Now, will the winner today come from the top 6? It's always a delight to come back to Lakeside and to greet Gary Wilkinson, a guy I reckon who can always spot a long shot, whether it be at Barcelona, Bathurst or even at Bundama. Gary?
Thank you, Mike. I wouldn't be anywhere else. Today, Lakeside is the rev head capital of the world. Ford versus Holden have dominated the 3 rounds of the Touring Car Championship so far. Could be a different scenario here today because Tony Longhurst, the blatant political weight penalty that BMW have suffered through 3 rounds has finally been eased to a point where I think you're going to be competitive.
No, I believe in the race, Gary. We will be competitive. It's been very hard to swallow. 90 kilos has been taken off the car in three races over an 8-week period, and now the car's going great. We qualified 7th yesterday, and we'll be there at the end.
You're still running about 30 kilos overweight. You've got a rev limiter as well. What is that costing you per lap?
The rev limit is only 100 revs, or it's actually 70 revs less than what we normally rev, so that's about 1/10 of a second. The 30 kilos is about 3/10. If we had the car set up how it can run, we'd be capable of getting pole position.
So today BMW are going to keep the bastards honest?
Yeah, we really are. They're in for a hell of a fight, I tell you.
Right, well, Tony just missed out on the top 6, but the top 6, the dash for cash, the draw is about to take place. Here's Andy Raymond.
Well, some nervous guys down here on the grid. Glenn Seaton drawing 5, and Glenn Seaton, you didn't have anything to win.
No, it's a little bit disappointing, but I'm just going to have to work pretty hard today and hopefully come through.
The Peter Jackson boys have gone fairly well in the dash so far this year for the sponsors. Will today be any different?
I think it's going to be fairly hard around this circuit from 6th. I don't know what Alan drawed, but hopefully Alan drew up the front and we can make a race of it.
A very tight course, a very narrow course. Can we expect some biff and barge?
Oh, we hope not. We try and keep that out of it, but sure, little accidents can happen, but hopefully that won't happen.
And looks like Alan Jones, your Peter Jackson teammate over here. Alan Jones, congratulations on drawing position number 1.
Thank you very much. Well, I've said it before, I'd rather be lucky than good.
So, the lineup for the Peter Jackson Dash. Alan Jones starts out of position number 1, and John Bowe, who was second fastest yesterday, remains at 2. From 3, it's number 2, Jim Richards, the big mover. From 4.17, Dickie Johnson. From 5.30, Glenn Seaton. Oh, terrible draw for Glenn. And rounding out the 6.05 is Peter Brock, who was 4th fastest yesterday. They're in behind the pace car coming down the hill prior to the start here at Lakeside Raceway. 3 laps constitute the Peter Jackson Dash. Alan Jones would need to get away to a brilliant start here because John Bowe has been very, very quick indeed. They make the exit out of that turn, a good-looking formation. Coming in for the start, Jones on the inside. No one will jump the queue, but they're getting ready now to run in the Peter Jackson Dash at Lakeside, and it's Jones trying to get the muscle as they head down into the first corner. It's going to be close here, but Jones will wrestle his way down to the inside and does so. Dick Johnson drops into 3rd. John Bowe is 2nd, and right behind them, Jimmy Richards. The exit from the carousel, and Jones is in command.
That was a very smart move by John Bowe, Mike. He saw that he wasn't going to get through the kink in the straight and slipped right behind Alan Jones.
Down to Hungry Corner. They've got a Queenslander in front, Wilker.
Yep, I tell you what, Alan Jones can smell this is going to be his big domestic season. The 1980 Formula One world champ. He's in second position in the series thus far behind teammate Glenn Seaton. But I tell you what, he can just smell that 93 is going to be his year.
They're coming in to reel off the first of three. There's Peter Brock, the 05 Mobile Commodore, has dropped out to 6 as they come across the line. We take Dunlop Racecam, riding with Dick Johnson. Just ahead of him is team driver John Bow. And getting away from these two, going into the right-hander at the carousel is Alan Jones and the Peter Jackson Falcon EB.
Well, Alan Jones said he wanted those 3 points today, Mike. It's a nice 3 points to start the day off. And I think you can say with just over a lap to go, he's got a comfortable grasp on this. It's Glenn trying to make a little headway, coming down, tight right-hander onto the straight here. Fast right-hander.
Does that beautifully. So he's gained a spot. That gives forwards 1, 2, 3, 4 as they come across the strike. 1 lap to go. And we take Mobile One Racecam. Brocky up the inside of Jim Richards as that was happening. So he's gone back to 5th now on the queue. There's Glenn Seaton, the man that's dominated the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship so far and has been doing so well in the Peter Jackson Dash Series that precedes the two races. Johnson now a little closer to John Bow. So Queenslander's going to win this one. Into Hungary Corner and towards the top of the hill. Jones has driven superbly. Was second fastest qualifier, or second fastest in practice here on Friday, but something went wrong yesterday afternoon.
Might have gone wrong yesterday afternoon. It's going all right today.
It certainly is. Last corner coming up, and it's checkered flag time for our Formula One world champion Alan Jones, bringing the PJ number 35 car across the strike. He'll win it. Second spot on the inside will go to John Bow. Third will go to Dickie Johnson. Alan Jones, boy, is he in a winning way in 1993 on the rostrum of Bathurst last weekend. And he's come up trumps this morning in the Peter Jackson Dash. Let's go down to Andy Raymond.
Alan, you've quite often said you'd rather be lucky than good. It seemed in that free lap you had a bit of both.
Yeah, it was. The car was really good. We've altered it yet again since last night, and I thought I might have been getting a bit of oversteer this morning in the warm-up, but in that race it was good. I think when the flag goes, you forget about it all.
A happy Alan Jones, and why not? Glenn Seaton still continues to lead the Shell Series, 64 points to his teammate 60. John Bow on 59, Dick Johnson on 46, and Thomas Mazzera is on 41 points. Well, we can promise you plenty of action here at Lakeside Raceway. We'll take a break and come back with just a little of it. A beautiful sight. The packed terraces at Lakeside International Raceway. A huge crowd in attendance here today as the tourers come down the hill. Heat number 1 of the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship constitutes round number 4 of the series. We've already had the dash this morning. Let's take a look at the top 10. 35 Alan Jones, by virtue of winning the dash, starts out of pole position, and alongside him will be John Bow in the Shelton Falcon EB. Out of position number 3 inside second row, Dick Johnson in the second of the Shell Falcons, and Glenn Seaton, fast man in qualifying, starts out of position number 4. Peter Brock, 05, starts out of position number 5 in the Mobile One Commodore. From 6 it's 2 Jimmy Richards, the first of the Winfield Commodore VPs, and then of course the surprise packet. Car number 25, Tony Longhurst, the Benson and Hedges BMW. From 8, it's 11, Larry Perkins. That's the Castrol Commodore. From position number 9, 1, Mark Scaife, the Winfield Commodore. And rounding out the 10, 15, Thomas Mazzera and the Telecom Mobile Net Commodore. From position 11 today, Paul Morris will be starting in the Diet Coke BMW. Keep an eye on him. Out of 12, Steve Reed, the Lansvale Smash Repairs Commodore. 13 is Neil Crompton in the GIO Australia car, and 14 Wayne Gardner, the second of the Telecom Mobile Net Commodores. A full grid, Jeff Full in the BMW out of 15, John Blanchard in another M3 out of 16. Bob Jones in the Ampol Max 3 car starts out of position 17. Get set, the start of round 4, the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship from Lakeside. Racing, Jones clearly the winner off the line. And that really affected Glenn Seaton. Got away, and we've had one stall on the line. It's one of the Winfield Commodores as we pick up Alan Jones leading John Bow, Dick Johnson down into the first right-hander. Also a good start there from Peter Brock in the mobile car. Jimmy Richards has stalled. Car number 2, and the crowd are giving Richards a huge hoot as they all get through Yokohama for the first time and come down towards the Dunlop Bridge. You can probably hear the fans in the background as they sweep beneath the bridge. The two Shell Falcons going after AJ. Great shot down to Hungry Corner for the first time. Brock made a good start. Thomas Mazera's right behind him, and Tony Longhurst is in the thick of it. John Bow made a move and let Johnson through on the inside, and Brock just muscles up and puts Bow out of play. And at the same time, Mazera comes down the inside. Gee whiz. John Bow couldn't have selected reverse gear better.
No, they're really arguing and bolstering their nerves to get up there into the slipstream. Everybody aggressive, but a fabulous start from Alan Jones. He clearly beat John Bow off the line and has held his lead here on the opening lap.
Watch this, Tony Longhurst trying to go right around them at the carousel. Up the inside of him comes Glenn Seaton, who really paid the penalty because Bow had a shocker off the line. And he was just forced to hold station. Richard's car's been pushed off the track. He'll play no part in this race today.
It is rough and tough out there at the moment. Alan Jones highballing in front at the present time. Dick Johnson right on his hammer. Peter Brock, what a great race for him. Into third spot, then Thomas Mazera.
That's the best placing Brock he's had all season. Third spot here at Lakeside, looking good. Mazera following him.
I'm interested in the form of a couple of these BMW runners, including the Diet Coke team and the Benson and Hedges team. Longhurst is up in touch with them as Jones leads them through the kick clear of Dick Johnson, then Peter Brock, Thomas Mazera, John Bow, then it's Glenn Seaton, and behind him Mark Scaife, and next is Tony Longhurst.
Yes, Longhurst actually dropped 4 or 5 positions in the big rush off the grid, but he's made those up quickly now, running in 8th position.
Well, he's got a competitive car that can maintain this speed now that he's in the freight train along with the V8s. The people behind him, oh, there's Scaife in the grass under Dunlop Bridge, being a bit cheeky.
We take our Dunlop race cam. Dick Johnson hounding now race leader Alan Jones over the top and down the roller coaster now to the right-hander.
We're on Dick Johnson's home turn. He's been through this corner 1,001 times. Could drive the circuit with his eyes closed. I think he's fair to say he's got Jones in his sight through the fast left-hander, high-speed corner.
Thomas Mazera's car blowing a little smoke there as he came up on the tail of Peter Brock. He's running in 4th. That's how tight it is. Johnson knows this racetrack.
I don't know about him driving the circuit with his eyes closed. I did a couple of laps here in the car with him on Friday. I had my eyes closed.
I don't blame you. Coming down beneath the Dunlop Bridge. Watch this remove. Johnson looking to push open on the inside here. Just can't do it. Jones hangs on.
Well, he knows he'll pay the penalty in spades if he rubs shoulders with Alan Jones. These cars stick to the ground. They got 12 inches of rubber on the ground, and it takes a mighty, mighty biff to displace one of them.
Watch this now for horsepower. Can Jones stretch it down the straight? Johnson sits in the draft. They scream past the start-finishing line. Fords 1 and 2. Peter Brock's coming up behind Dick Johnson at this stage.
Yes, the field's close enough. Mike Alan Jones will be driving a little defensively. He's holding off Johnson, and in the process, it's allowing the rest of the field to take advantage of this dogfight at the very front.
It's really a case, I guess, of try and win the race, but conserve the tyres at the same time.
Well, for people that have just tuned in for the first time, we have to remind them that the tyres that are used in this heat must be used again, no matter what the condition. Apart from an actual flat spot or a blowout, they're allowed to replace one tire without penalty. But anyone that asks for a full set of tires goes to the rear of the grid for the second heat.
I'll tell you what, if you're a Holden fan, this one isn't over yet. Peter Brock is clawing his way up to the tail of the Dick Johnson car as they come down the front straight. He's joined the train. Thomas Mazera's 2 car lengths back behind him, and there's Brocky on the charge down behind Dick Johnson. And in talking to Peter just before the start of the race, he said he's never felt so confident since the Formula started this year. He believes he's got almost the perfect balance in the Commodore.
Well, he's driven Commodores for a long time, and if he can't get it right, nobody can.
Coming up on one of the 2-litre cars. Watch this. They blow by them on the outside. We take Peter Brock's race cam, courtesy Mobil 1. They head up the hill again. So we've got just about the action covered for you here. Brocky sitting in 3rd. We've also got a camera in Dick Johnson's car running there in 2nd behind Alan Jones. And see if Brock can... Brock can make up some ground down here.
This is as tight as we've seen it all season. 1, 2, 3 within a blanket. Going to be a real scrap here over 28 laps.
This is third, fourth and fifth. Mazzera, Bow, then Glenn Seaton and Tony Longhurst sitting in behind. Is it going to be a giant killer day? Hand goes out the window. Mazzera has a problem.
He's smoking.
I detected that a couple of laps back, so he's headed for the pits. Hasn't been the best of weekends for the Telecom MobileNet team. One of the 2-litre boys sticks to the inside. Good spot. Stay out of what's going on around you. There's another one.
Move over or get blown over, I think is the case.
They've done a great job, though. I mean, these cars are just so fast, and the poor guys are racing the 2-litre cars in their rear-view mirrors. Okay, down the hill again. Tony Longhurst brings you our 7 Sport race cam. Now, we are riding just a couple of centimetres off the racetrack as Tony tries to catch a draft of one of those big Falcons. But as you can see, there's the horsepower advantage as Seaton tries to make a move on John Bower. Flat shat through the king and down now to the carousel.
Gains under brakes. Lighter car. He's running 1,010 kilograms against 1,300 that the V8s are forced to carry. And as such, under brakes, he's able to just lurch up there onto that back bumper bar of Glenn Seaton. Certainly in this race, and certainly a force to be reckoned with in the second heat, when all of the finishers from this event start the second heat based on their finish here in this race.
Okay, Bow to the top of the hill. Seaton trying to find a way past Johnson, second driver, and down in the pits. The 15 car, Thomas Mazzera, is in after smoking. They lost an engine yesterday with the Wayne Gardner car, and they've had the strongest motors all season.
Shake of the head there from Thomas Mazzera. The race is run for him. And this is the battle for 4th, 5th, 6th. Bow, Seaton, Tony Longhurst, the BMW up to 6th spot. Competitive again at last.
Factor with the BMW that Tony can drive as aggressively as he likes, apart from this being his home circuit and having the balance and the handling of his car absolutely perfect, matching every nuance that he wants to get out of it. He can harass these two guys in front of him fairly with abandon. He can run it with abandon, whereas the others are probably still thinking a little bit, how can we save a bit of rubber for the second heat?
They're not going to save much of it. Peter Dillman there in the Impala Kitchens car. He comes down. 35 Alan Jones. It's tough here at the front of the field. We go to the pit shortly as Dick Johnson and Alan Jones traded up amongst the 2-litre cars. Peter Brock is right in behind them as they come whistling down here to the right-hander at the carousel. Thomas Mazzera was in this with a chance. He's in the pits. His race is run. Let's go down to Andy.
Yes, bad luck all weekend for Thomas Mazzera. Oil surging problems and you're conserving the engine.
Yeah, I thought my bad luck was over. I had a good start, got up to 4th, running 4th there quite easily. But then I was getting the oil pressure warning light up, and it was in a low revs only after the corners. Then I kept going. But then it started coming on at the 6,000 reps as well. Then I shut it down because I would have braked the engine.
Well, bad luck for Thomas. We hope to see you back in heat number 2 a little later.
Well, I'm not sure. I hope we can do something about it, but it's pretty major.
Well, 75, one of the Toyota Corollas, that's Frank Binding, has gone off. Frank was out of that in a hurry, let me tell you. Over the tyres, Frank. And that's exactly what he does, because Dick Johnson...
Oh, this is great, this battle up front, isn't it?
Making overtures as though he wants to lead this in front of hometown crowd. Johnson gets up the inside. Jones just went a little offline. Now watch Brock. Brock has got all excited about this, looking at picking up second, so Jones is going to sit and harass Johnson now. And listen to the crowd, they love it. The locals in front. They had one go in. Larry Perkins has gone in at the carousel in car number 11. But fortunately he hasn't made contact. Oh yes, he has, just with a couple of the tyres, so it was a soft landing. And it took his breath away as he left the circuit. He had an off there yesterday due to one of the slower cars jumping on the anchors in front of him.
Listen for the cheer as they come around here onto the home straight with Dick Johnson in front.
It's like Peter Brock there with crack to the windscreen in the Mobil 1 Commodore as he follows this draft down the front straight. Oh yes, the crowd love this.
Well, they've all got laminated screens by regulation. There's no way that's any danger to Brocky. In fact, anybody serious about their health, long-term health, should always have a laminated windscreen.
He might need a laminated rear here in a moment. He's working Alan Jones over pretty well, let me tell you.
I think Alan missed a gear in the middle of the carousel, or he just went a little bit wide under brakes, but Dick Johnson didn't miss a beat. He didn't miss a millisecond. He saw Jonesy in trouble and grabbed it. He was in there on the tight side. He had to move fast. He had to think faster to make that move on him, but good on him. Dick Johnson in the lead here at Lakeside, his home circuit.
There's Alan Jones in second. Brock is third as they come through, and Brocky's having a great day here in the 05 car. There's the gap back to John Bower. Then, of course, it's Glenn Seaton followed by Tony Longhurst. Longhurst looking good, not only in this heat, but keep in mind that lighter car might be a little less horsepower, but that's going to play into his hands with the second heat later. Dick Johnson couldn't be doing it better for Queensland. He leads in this round of the Shell Touring Car Championship over Alan Jones, Peter Jackson Falcon. Third is Brocky in the Mobil 1 Commodore. Then it's John Bower, the second of the Falcons. And then, of course, Glenn Seaton rounds out the 5 in the PJ machine. Any chances? Any chance of a chat? Any? The battle for 4th, 5th and 6th. Round 4 of the Shell Touring Car Nationals from Lakeside. John Bower just holding out Glenn Seaton, and Seaton trying to get past Bower to shake that little Benson and Hedges bimmer from his tail.
Well, just to show how competitive this class is, Mike, we have to remind ourselves that only a couple of weeks ago at Phillip Island, Glenn Seaton was just absolutely on top of the opposition. No one could even see his rear bumper bar. And today, struggling, but relatively speaking, here in 5th spot today.
Whoop, there's car number 6 going off, and that, of course, is John Smith and the Caltex Team Toyota. He's had a little off there and hugs to the inside as John Bower comes through with Seaton clawing his way right up now behind him. And Seaton has to be a little careful here. Looks like another one of the 2 leaders, Peter Dillman and the Impala Kitchens M3, as headed off at the exit to the carousel. He rejoins the race. Be pretty heady stuff. There's Colin Bond going through. We'll do a pickup. Oh, trouble here for Mark Scaife in car number 1 on the entrance to the carousel, and he's put it around sideways. Not the best so far for the Winfield team. Jim Richards' car is out of this race, and Scaife has had a spin. Colin Bond and the Toyota just getting past.
Scaife's lost his rear bumper bar assembly. They seem to come off with regular monotony on the Commodores. I don't know what it is.
Dick Johnson, race leader. Alan Jones second, Peter Brock third. And then John Bower closing up now on the leading trio. Glenn Seaton in his wake, and Tony Longhurst in the top 6. 4th round of the Australian Touring Car Championship Series, and what a great series it is. And this race here is no exception today. Head-to-head, V8 against V8, Falcon against Commodore, and the BMW today in there for good measure with a chance.
Larry Perkins has called at the pits. They're putting a new front assembly air dam on the front of the Castrol Commodore. So he's had it off down there at Carousel. That's in fact where all of the cars have left the circuit.
It's a tricky corner. My people trying to make time. They're not only trying to make time under brakes, they're trying to get a good run up onto the back straight. And as such, right on the limit all the time. But no problems for our leader, Dick Johnson, here in the Shell Falcon, in a spot that he hasn't had too many laps of this season. John Bower's normally been leading the Shell team this season.
And there's great rivalry, of course, between the 2 Ford teams, Dick Johnson's Shell Ford dealers team and Glenn Seaton's Peter Jackson team. It would appear with Ford dealers signage over Dick's car, he seems to have a little more factory support than Glenn's effort.
Well, I think Dick has been a traditional Ford stalwart for over a decade, and Glenn is in a relatively newer team. It's probably only proper that Dick's association is a little stronger.
And what I was actually alluding to was the fact that Seaton's team have been hammering the Johnson team the last few weeks, and Dick would certainly appreciate getting his nose in front of one of those blue Fords for a change.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, the Seaton team, they had the jump at the start in terms of development. Of course, Johnson had to build one car and then scrap it and start all over again, and but he's certainly catching up now.
There's Jones, having a fabulous season. Winning, of course, the complete round. Lyndon Heffernan back there having some problems. Peter Brock was up on the inside of him. Jones, of course, on the rostrum only a week ago at Bathurst in the 12-hour production car race. He's come up this morning, of course, winning the dash. And he is back now after leading this race behind Dick Johnson. So Johnson in car number 17 leads the 35 car. There's Brocky, car number 05.
Good run by Brocky today. Very good. That's the best run he's had this season.
We take our Dunlop race cam. Shows you how busy it is. And Alan, you might like to explain for us.
Yes, this is the telemetry coming from Dick Johnson's dashboard, local Queensland company, the electronics company that have been working with him. He's got his foot on the brake. The revs have gone down to 4,000, 5,000. Now he's accelerating up, 6,000 RPM. You can see the speed, almost 200 kph. Just a tap of the brakes as he came onto the straight. He's in 4th gear, up to 5th, up to 250 kilometers. He's up to 7 and a bit. Might have just touched the rev limiter there when you saw the needle go to 7.5. They're almost 275k as he hits the carousel. KPA and down to just over 100. He's feathering his way through, up, more acceleration, 6, 7, 5. Quick change. You hear that, just that little click on that Hollinger 6-speed gearbox. He's only using 5 of those gears around the top of the back straight there. Watch for the brake light to come on in a second. There she goes, down to 3rd. Left-hander, up the hill, accelerating again. Almost max rev, 7.75. Brake for the right-hander. Down only a little over 100 around the corner. And down the hill, we'll see the revs go up again. 6, 7, 7.5. Change. Brake, tap onto the main straight. He's in 4th gear. Already doing over 200k. Here's the pits on the right. He would have looked at his signal. Go, boys, go, is what the pit crew are saying to him. Watch the judgment here, a nasty bump on the left hand, not coming up. The camera's isolated. I don't know, Mike, is that in a gyro camera? It didn't show the bump, but it's a real nervy corner on the straight.
Whew, what a ride.
Fabulous ride. Dick Johnson, car number 17. It looks so clean and doesn't look as that quick, does it?
Almost looks easy. It's too easy. He is straining.
Mike, as I said, I was in the car with Dick for 2 laps on Friday, and things happen so fast, your brain can't keep up with what he's doing.
Here's Wayne Gardner. He's had an awful weekend. If Thomas Mazzera considers he's had a woeful one. Oh, Wayne, after yesterday launching an engine in the 16 car, the reason they changed the motor after the first practice session was they detected a knock, they believed, in the motor. So they pulled the engine out, put a fresh one in, lasted 4 laps. It blew to pieces, so they've put the engine back in that had the knock. Now it no longer has a knock. So
doesn't appear to have too much speed either.
No, that seems to be down a little bit, and Wayne not having the best of weekends due to the equipment not standing up to him, and Thomas Mazzera almost the same, coming down on the inside of Colin Bond's car. Down to the inside, through the gears, and to the carousel once again for Wayne Gardner.
Close again for 1st and 2nd. Dick Johnson leading, but Alan Jones getting right up on the rear bumper now as they come onto the main straight once more. Jones led early. Had a little bit of a, oh, hello, Lansvale smash repairs Commodore. Almost needed a little smash repair work.
Well, he was able to get out of that after a little exit there at the carousel. It is getting very tight at the front.
This is getting serious. Jones is posting notice here. All Dick will be able to see is blue, and it's not sky that he's looking at. That Peter Jackson Falcon shadowing him.
The sweep to Hungary Corner. They go past Peter Dillman in the Impala Kitchens BMW. Johnson got away just a little more that time. But Alan Jones is back to haunt him. 5 and just a bit laps to go. They head downhill off the roller coaster. So it's tightening up at the pointy end of the field. Dick Johnson of Queensland, car number 17 for the Shell team, leads Alan Jones across the line.
Yes, he doesn't want to make a mistake. He certainly doesn't want to do what Alan did to himself down here in the carousel. Dick will be very conscious of where he places the car here. He doesn't want to see that blue one nip up on the inside, but he seems to have fended off well that lap. Bear in mind, two very evenly matched cars and extremely good drivers. It takes a big mistake for one driver to be able to capitalize on the other. But certainly just shadowing Dick and making him nervous is what Alan Jones wants to do right now.
Well, 3rd, 4th and 5th.
Peter Brock, John Bauer, Glenn Seaton.
And the interesting thing is that they've been able to get away from Tony Longhurst by the look of things. They go down the hill again. Coming up now with 4 laps to go. The race continues between Dick Johnson and the Shell Ford and Alan Jones.
Yes, Tony Longhurst has dropped right off this battle by about 200, 250 metres out of contention for a top 5 finish.
Coming up on one of the slower cars, keeping to the outside of the circuit. It looks like Bob Jones there in the Ampol Max 3 car. Waves the other drivers by. And there's John Bauer. I thought Bauer would have played a major role in probably a win here for his team in this heat. But he had a shocker of a start. There's the gap. We're waiting on Tony Longhurst, and as you can see, Longhurst has dropped back off the pace of the V8s today.
He's got problems.
Yes, he certainly
car never
has.
runs that slow, Mike.
Coming in, 3 laps to go. Glenn Seaton trying to catch a draft down the straight from John Bauer. Peter Brock running in 3rd. 4th is Bauer. 5th is Glenn Seaton to the right-hander.
Lots of flames coming out of the Shell cars. You see the engine management system set in a particular way, and that's the afterburn of the fuel going out the exhaust pipe. The Peter Jackson cars, by comparison, are running much cleaner. You don't see the flame coming out of the blue cars. Nothing to get particularly worried about.
Peter Brock, the lone Commodore, in the Falcon sandwich here. He's got 2 ahead of him, 2 on his tail. Johnson leads. Alan Jones 2nd. Brock, Bauer, Seaton.
With just a few laps to go, I think most of the drivers have accepted station and said, well, this is where I'm going to finish. This gives me my grid for the next heat. Don't think they're actually knocking them around to their full extent here on these last few laps.
2 laps to go. Wayne Gardner being harried by one of the little BMWs.
Yeah, that'll be Paul Morris in the Diet Coke car.
Certainly is, and he's trying to sit and let that V8 do all the work and break the air down the front straight and then see whether he can hang in there. He can't, obviously, but he'll close up ground here. Watch this. Gardner comes down on the outside of Peter Dillman's Impala BMW and gets caught a little wide. Then he dives to the inside just to make sure he shut the options off of Paul Morris, but Morris is all over Wayne Gardner.
Yeah, Dillman just foiled the situation there a little bit. I think Paul might have been thinking about diving in under brakes, trying to nail Gardner, but just didn't have enough real estate in front of him to do it.
Up front, there's 1 lap to go.
Last lap forward. 1 to go. Dick Johnson of Queensland leads this one. Colin Bond breaking the gap. So a couple of lap cars now between Dick Johnson and Alan Jones. Here's the exit to the carousel, and Johnson, wait for him as he comes over the top.
Yes, I think Alan Jones buttoned off a bit as well, Mike. But a great drive by Dick Johnson. It might be his home circuit, but give him a half a go and he'd take advantage of it.
Okay, the Ashby Reed car coming up to have a lap put on it by Dick Johnson. Johnson to the top of the hill, goes on the inside of Heffernan's car. Now the run downhill. I tell you, this is going to be a popular win. There's an enormous crowd here at Lakeside today. They've come to see one of 3 Queenslanders in the outright class win. They're going to get a dividend because Dick Johnson, car number 17 for the Shoal team, across the line. He takes heat number 1. Second spot will go to Alan Jones in the Peter Jackson 35 car. Brocky finishes in 3rd. John Bow in 4th place. And Glenn Seaton will round out the 5. We'll confirm those for you now with our Shell race score. Well done, Dickie Johnson. A win here today. Jones finishes in 2nd, Brock 3rd, Bow 4th, Seaton 5th, and there's more action to come. So a lot happening over the next 4 weeks. There's going to be a lot happening here in about 30 seconds. Dick Johnson and Alan Jones sharing the front row. For heat number 2 here this afternoon, round 4 of the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship. Row number 2, Peter Brock and John Bow. Row 3, Glenn Seaton and Tony Longhurst. Row 4, Paul Morris and Wayne Gardner. And row 5, Neil Crompton and Jeff Full. Ready for the start. Watch these V8s explode off the start. Johnson keen to get a blinder here. Jones won the start in the first one and got across the side of the road. Can he do the same in the second? Off the line, yes. Away goes Jones. Bow down the outside at this stage of Dick Johnson as they head down to the carousel for the first time. And look at Jones getting across to the inside. Tony Longhurst, a brilliant start, and also a good one from Peter Brock with Glenn Seaton right behind him as they go into the first turn. The exit to the carousel, AJ leading from John Bow, Dick Johnson, then Peter Brock. We've got a real Holden versus Ford war going here at Lakeside as they come down to the bridge.
Dick Johnson had the 2 starts. He had 1 and a bit, a long red light, and it cost him the start. A brilliant start by Alan Jones. Bow took advantage of Dick's stutter, if you like, on the line.
Seaton well positioned back there in 4th spot. Also Neil Crompton got away smartly. He's had a wretched weekend in the GIO Insurance's Commodore, but he's in touch with them as they come down the hill for the first time. And here comes Seaton right up behind Brock. Crowd wants Johnson to get on with this one, try getting past John Bow. Brocky's in there and Seaton can't do a thing about that at the moment as he sits in his draft coming down to the right. Hander is Crompton out there very wide through the kink. You don't go off there and put a wheel in the dirt. He did. He was able to get back.
He held it well. He held it well.
Good effort by Crompton, and it didn't do much good for his tyres, though, and tyres are going to be a critical factor as this second heat of this 4th round of the Touring Car Championship unfolds. Brock goes through, Seaton in hot pursuit, Tony Longhurst right on there. Hammer, the little BMW, is flying.
Well, this is Tony's test circuit. He'll have that pedal to the metal.
And I think there was incident back there with the Lansvale Smash Repairs car. It was sideways coming out of Hungary Corner. In the meantime, it's almost a repeat of the opening heat. With Alan Jones, there's number 1 Mark Scaife, the Winfield Racing Commodore. He changed tyres and started at the back of the field, so his day is almost done. They're chasing a handling problem. They've had it for quite a number of meetings. Peter Brock, the Mobile 1 Commodore, and right behind him is Glenn Seaton. They're coming down to the right-hander at the carousel.
You can't see him, but Tony Longhurst is tucked right in behind this pair. There he is, just a flash of yellow.
Glenn Seaton all over the back of Brocky in this heat.
Brock's car pitching there too, coming through the turn.
A little bit. We've got 2 Bridgestone short car teams here, so they should be on fairly equitable rubber. But Glenn is definitely pounding Brock, and have a look at Tony on the back of Glenn Seaton.
It's tight at the front of the field too. There's Brock coming off the hill. Longhurst sitting in here. He's set for a big one in this second heat, but he's got to get past these 2 cars because the V8s in front are running away from this second group. Wayne Gardner is just behind Tony Longhurst. Not too much there. You can just see Gardner coming into view there. They're into the carousel one more time as we take the Tony Longhurst 7 Sport Cam riding on the front spoiler as he goes after Glenn Seaton in car number 30.
Eyeball cam.
Yes, sump cam.
Sump cam. Here he is down through the right-hander on the back straight under Dunlop Bridge, fading to the left, just letting the car take its own. Now he's thinking about under brakes, trying to harass Glenn Seaton. He's going to have to do a little bit more bravely than that. He's certainly not going to fox Glenn out of that corner.
Come off the hill. Now when they go downhill, the Ford and the Holden get away. Now Tony's got to try and catch a draft out of here. Usually he misses it, and he does all of his closing up past the kink on the run to the right-hander.
Down through the left-hander, the kink, one of the fastest corners in Australia, and a nasty bump in the middle of it for anybody that gets too close to the inside of the corner. You see a little bit of bouncing around it. If we can see it, I can tell you the drivers are having a real wrestle with the steering wheel. Brocky a little wide, nothing to be too concerned about, but he's protecting his position. Glenn would dearly like to get by. I think you'll find it the moment he does, he'll say goodbye, Mobile One.
Well, there's the move. It's coming. Longhurst, you recall at last year's championship round at this racetrack, that's where Longhurst passed just about every car in the field. Down on the inside of the run at Hungary Corner. But he needs a fair shot at it.
Well, the big cars, they may be big, but they've also got good brakes. It's not just the BMW that can stop well, but certainly with Tony's lighter weight at the 1,010 kilos against the 1,300 mandatory weight of the 5-litre cars, he can throw his car a little bit better under brakes.
Alan Jones, the race leader from the Shell duo, John Brow and Dick Johnson, followed by Peter Brock, Glenn Seaton, Tony Longhurst. John Brow, by the way, in second spot at the present time, is driving with the pain-killing injections in his right shoulder. He damaged the shoulder in qualifying yesterday, has wrenched a muscle in the right shoulder and is in agony, in fact, behind the wheel.
This is not going to do much for it. Let me tell you that it's a very physical racetrack, the best of times, and these are very physical cars, as we've seen. Oh, there's Seaton just dabbing the brakes as he tried to get inside of Brock. They're coming up on a lap car that'll stay to the left, one of the Toyota Corollas. There's the speed difference.
He's just about as close as he can be to Brocky, and Joss doesn't seem to have enough snap. The gearing must be very similar on these two cars. A lot of talk about how superior the Fords are in this series so far this year, but Brocky's certainly giving them a run in his Commodore today.
And look at Seaton. He is just all over the tail of Peter Brock. And Longhurst, while ever Brock can hold Seaton up, has got a chance here of maybe getting a run through if Seaton is able to find a gap here on Brock. But take nothing away from Peter Brock. Every lap is the same. It looks like one of the Diet Coke BMWs, the 24 car, I think it was, in strife there. Jeff Full has parked it up against the concrete wall on the run to the Shell corner.
Well, nobody making any mistakes coming onto the straight. Quite a difficult corner to get as much speed as they can down the straight. Get maximum RPM down the main straight. Glenn really now trying to harass Brock.
Thomas Mazzera, a non-starter.
Here we go.
Oh, beautiful pass there. Race cam on the Mobile One Commodore. Peter Brock showed it, and that's exactly what I thought would happen.
Tony wasn't asleep. He thought he saw an opportunity, and a very smart move on his part. He just followed Glenn's draft. There wouldn't have been much drafting there. Brocky just got a little loose under brakes, and Glenn was already just nicely positioned in the middle of the carousel, and off he went.
Jimmy Richards in the pits in the second of the Winfield Commodores. As I said earlier, a wretched weekend for this team. They were the class act of last year, the previous year, probably 3 years. They're unhappy with the balance of their car. They've got a lot of work still to do with it, and hopefully luck might turn their way at Winton when we go racing there on the next round of the championship on May 16.
They've thrown away any opportunity or any possibility of a place in the race here today, so have elected to throw some fresh tires on and just try and come to grips with their car package, not let the race go away, use it as a practice session.
Tough week for the Winfield team, and also, as you mentioned, Mike, for the Holden Racing team, with Thomas Mazzera not fronting up for the second heat here. Wayne Gardner playing a lone hand for them. And in the smaller category cars, Peter Dillman, the Impala Kitchens BMW, got shunted 3 times in the first heat, and the car so badly damaged he couldn't back up for this heat.
Well, they're just coming up on Colin Bond now, and the Caltex car hangs off to the right there, 2 litres, having a tough job here trying to race each other, as you can see, and deal with the 5-litre cars that are just so much faster. The thing that is interesting here, Johnson still tailing John Bower, but you'll notice that Glenn Seaton has been able to pull up on the tail of them. He's gaining on them rapidly, and Gardner is gaining on the tail of Tony Longhurst and Peter Brock.
Yes, I don't think there's any doubt about the fact that Brock held Seaton at bay for a number of laps there, and in the process, Longhurst
GIO race cam. Neil Crompton's car. Larry Perkins right on his hammer. Nudge, nudge almost.
Under the Dunlop Bridge. And room, oh, there he goes on the inside at Hungry Corner. And this is one of the Winfield cars.
Must be Mark Scaife, is it?
That didn't work.
Not enough room.
Rumour mill doing it overtime here at Lakeside over the weekend. Suggestion is that Larry Perkins might develop a Ford Falcon as well over the next few months. That'll be interesting.
Well, that'll certainly give him some comparison notes for his logbook.
A lot of rumours going around here this weekend. Andrew Miedeke was here on Friday with a briefcase in hand, holding urgent consultations with people that I can't name. So Mad Andy might be back before too much longer. That's all we need back with all the V8s and the close racing we've got.
Why can't you name them, Gary? You were looking at them. Are you having trouble with your?
No, I don't want to spoil. I don't want to spoil his business deal.
Okay, here we go back to the race as we have Colin Bond again and Johnny Smith here in the Caltex Toyotas. The V8s get down the inside of the pair of them into Hungry Corner. Neil Crompton doing a great job here in the GIO Australia Commodore. Larry Perkins behind him, and then of course the Winfield Commodore that's already down a couple of laps. Jimmy Richard and Mark Scaife still out there circulating.
This is only Larry's second run in this car, the new VP, and not as happy with his chassis setup in practice and in qualifying. Very undulating.
That's where you can notice that bump in the kink, isn't it? Where you can see race cam out the back.
At the back, you see the undulations for sure. Oh, I can't get any closer than this. He's going to take that
stuff.
GIO sign off in a minute.
Yes.
There's Mr. Beta, a computer company in Melbourne supporting Perkins Engineering.
So Crompton doing a good job on the run down to Hungry Corner. This is Larry's made a couple of dives here under brakes before. They pass another of the cars on the outside coming up to the right-hander that crests the hill here.
Well, I guess we know that Castrol is Larry Perkins' sponsor.
Okay, they sweep onto the front straight. Larry just a touch sideways coming through there. That's that group that we've been following. Crompton, of course, followed by Larry Perkins and the Castrol machine, and then the Winfield Commodore. But up front, AJ.
Seems to have them at bay. There's quite a gap between him and John Bowe. Michelle Fords can't seem to close on him.
Isn't he just having a fabulous season?
He'll wonder what it was he ran over so that he can go back and do it again. This is just fantastic for him.
Well, I think Alan Jones for several seasons, since the Formula One Championship victory in 1980, he's just been puddling around, and it's the first time that he's had the machinery underneath him to show his two talents.
Probably makes a happy number two, but he makes a better number one, equal number one. Alan Jones continues to lead in the Peter Jackson Falcon over John Bowe in the Shell Falcon. Next is Dick Johnson running in third, then Glenn Seaton. Tony Longhurst now up to 5. Back in a moment. Reaching half distance now. We're following the 2 leader cars that have been fighting. They've been fairly close all day. Peter Dillman, as Gary mentioned earlier, has had problems with the Impala Kitchens BMW. Colin Bond here in the Caltex Team Toyota. And right behind him is John Smith.
First time in 4 rounds that Bondi's actually had this car going anywhere near as well as it can.
Well, he's had development problems, but he seems to have it fairly well sorted out here today. And Lakeside is a real handling circuit, so if he leaves here this weekend happy with his setup, I'm sure he'll go on to better things in the rest of the series.
So they come across the line. There's Colin Bond and John Smith. They're running 1-2 in the 2-litre class. Try to have their race in amongst the 5-litre V8s that are absolutely storming around Lakeside Raceway today. Alan Jones continuing to lead from the Shell duo of John Bowe and Dick Johnson. Glenn Seaton is up to 4th and getting closer all the time. We're in for a couple of interesting laps here. Down on the inside of Jimmy Richards comes Dick Johnson. That's John Bower, and of course Alan Jones ahead of him.
Sporting move by Jim Richards.
And look at this. Here's Seaton. Seaton's up for the business end of the afternoon now. Right behind Dick Johnson. The car looks strong. Actually, these four Ford Falcons all look strong and have looked strong here all weekend.
One of the greatest things about the formula to date, Mike, has been the engine reliability, bar a few problems with the odd team. But in essence, these cars start the races in the morning and they keep running all day long.
Look at Falcons 1 to 4. BMW running 5th.
Johnson carries our Dunlop race cam. He makes the exit to come on to the start finishing straight here at Lakeside. Goes past our commentary box into the left-hander, full tilt at about 280 kilometres an hour, down through the gears to the right-hander. And that's what the view looks like from the roof of Johnson's Shell Falcon.
Up onto the back straight, bit of traffic in front. Some decisions here past the slow car.
And Tony Longhurst, there he goes. Under Bob Jones and the Ampol Max 3 Commodore. Glenn Seaton does the same. Now Jones seems to be comfortably clear. Bower hasn't been able to throw anything in the last couple of laps at AJ. But this number 30 car starting to look strong, like he means business against the two Shell forwards.
Well, Glenn's got a great feel for his car, and I think if he accepted whatever position he had to take in the first heat as a result of his bad draw in the Peter Jackson Dash, but I think perhaps his tires maybe are serving him a little bit better here at the moment. Dick would have had to have given his car a pretty hard workover to win that first heat, and now you've got Glenn bearing down on him. I think he truly is preying on him.
2 litre cars hanging to the right this time.
Both right and left. All over the place.
Bondi stays out of it. John Smith tries to give them a hand. Actually, this group, the 3 forwards, have got away from Tony Longhurst just a bit over the last couple of laps.
That is surprising. I would have expected Tony to stay with Glenn, but perhaps the pace a little stronger than we thought.
There he is on the right of screen.
Certainly not out of it, but
maybe he got dropped off their tail, getting in and out of that slower traffic, and once he's lost the draft,
would have only had to have one slower car hold him up, and that would have damaged his chances.
They make the exit to the carousel.
John Bower, Dick Johnson, Glenn Seaton, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. His second heat, round 4, the Shell Australian Touring Car Championship. Alan Jones leads. He muscled his way to the front right off the starting grid and has not been headed since. And when push comes to shove, he's one of the best muscle men around, Alan Jones. Just ask Mark Scaife and Wayne Gardner.
Well, he's made 2 beautiful starts today.
And that's the business he's in.
Yeah.
You have to do that. And if you're on the front row and you can't capitalize on the start, well, you've thrown away the advantage of being on the front row. And in that respect, Dick will be reprimanding himself at the end of the day, wishing he had. It was a very long red light. I'd be quite savage myself. I thought the starter held the red far too long. These fellows are revving them at top revs. They're sitting, and Dick just took 2 bites at it, and it cost him the start.
Longhurst looks like he's climbing back again after being held up momentarily, trying to get back on the tail of Glenn Seaton to complete this chain in the battle for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. Jones under no threat at the moment up front.
Well, the spectators warming to this battle. The forwards 1, 2, 3, 4 being chased by Tony Longhurst. Hasn't been a lot of action over the last hour or so at Lakeside. The local Gemini race is one of the cars going off the circuit into a guardrail. Paul Morris now in the Diet Coke BMW, number 23, the exit to the hill.
Just 2-3 seasons ago, Paul Morris won the Formula Ford Driver to Europe round here at Lakeside. Here he is now racing with the Tony Longhurst, Frank Gardner BMW team. Running 7th on the track at the present time. Very big effort for Tony's team here today.
Well, the one thing about these BMWs, they start them in the morning, they put a little oil and water in them, and they just run all day. And as long as they look after their tires, they've got very, very lethal weapons after a given period of time.
And a pretty formidable stable of young drivers in this team, Alan.
Yeah, well, they're training them up for Bathurst, and what better place to get your baptism of fire. It's not as if they don't know how to drive. They've already acquitted themselves well. But truly, the greatest feature of any BMW is that it just runs and runs and runs.
They come across the strike again. Positions unchanged. They have 7 laps remaining. Second race, round 4 of the Shell Touring Car Nationals from Lakeside.
Well, Glenn is now letting Dick know that he's definitely serious about getting by. He's trying to set up himself just exactly what he did to Peter Brock. Couldn't get any closer than that. Dick's rear end is getting a little seesawy, a little fishtaily. I'd say he's hanging on there a bit. Not quite the control that he'd want.
Well, both the Shell cars were pretty threadbare in the tyre department after the first heat. They changed the allowable 1 tyre each, Johnson and Bauer, but they'd love to have been able to change a couple more.
I think so, and definitely it is a hard rule, but it is a rule applicable to everybody. 1 set of tires on the morning, and we take them off at the end of the day. It's designed to help the privateers who can't afford to throw $4,000 or $5,000 worth of tires on every afternoon to have a go.
Fabulous shot as they come down to the kink. Longhurst always there.
It's like a praying mantis.
Well, we've seen Seaton.
His wife would say such a good-looking one.
Yeah, Seaton has been able to fall back a little and make a run again at Dick Johnson. Longhurst, I think, would have hoped to have been a little closer at this stage of the race. Everyone believed that Tony would come into this with maybe 10 laps to go.
Yeah, I was going to say he needs about 15 laps remaining, and there are only 6.
And he needs probably, I don't know, maybe another 4 cylinders at this stage.
Now, come on, fellows. We'll have the serenade out on Monday as it is for some more weight out of this car. So let's not get too carried away here.
5 laps.
5 laps to go. Alan Jones leads from John Bowe, Dick Johnson and Glenn Seaton. Then a gap back to Tony Longhurst. Peter Brock is next on the queue. Then a substantial gap. And by substantial, I mean it's out to probably 8 or 9 seconds over car number 16, Wayne Gardner. 23, we've already mentioned to you during the course of the afternoon, Paul Morris, who's been running strongly. Larry Perkins.
I love the look of these Shell cars, particularly when they're running 1-2 like that on the track. They look dazzling in the flesh, but on camera, real mean machines. Here we go, down the hill again on Dunlop Race Cam. Fade to the right, let it drift left, up a couple of gears on the straight. Dick will be looking in the rear view now, keeping his eye on Seaton to make sure he's not trying to pull a shifty through the kink. Have to be very brave to do it, but Glenn does seem to close really dramatically under brakes into the carousel.
They've got 4 laps to go now. Heffernan about to be passed one more time. He hugs to the inside. Look at Seaton.
Oh, Dick with his hand out the window saying Guyugala. It's hard. This guy's in the race as well.
Yeah, he's trying to have his race. Twigden. Well, Twigden is...
He didn't twig quite quick enough.
He didn't twig, and he flashed right across in front of Tony, so that just spoiled about another 50-metre gain.
John Bowe is backed off, and here we have Dick in second spot. Don't know what happened. Something up there at the top of the hill, on Motorcraft Hill.
3 laps to go now. So Johnson slots into his second spot and sets out in pursuit of Alan Jones. I don't know that there's time for him to make up the leeway, but he'll be trying. You can bet your life on that. Now it's John Bowe's fallen back into the clutches of Glenn Seaton. For the point's sake, Seaton really would be desperate to get past.
And it was probably in Johnson's team's best interest to get JB up there as well. So I dare say the pit managers have been playing the points game. They know where they want to be at the end of the day.
That's quite possible, and that's fair enough too. They work as a team, and there's no greater team driver than John Bowe, and there's no fairer boss than Dick Johnson.
Alan Jones leads the race. He comes across the start-finish line with 2 laps to go, pursued by Dick Johnson, John Bowe, Glenn Seaton, then Tony Longhurst. The girls from Shell love this. Come on, Dick, they're cheering him on.
I hope they're cheering for Alan Jones as well. They sweep through the carousel. Jones caught up in some 2-litre cars, gets out of there.
It was a big first heat win to Dick Johnson today, but it's not going to be in the second heat. Alan Jones has shown them a clean pair of wheels right off the grid.
Yes, credit to the Peter Jackson team. Getting one car out here and doing well is one thing. Getting two of them out and having them both finish and finish well is a credit.
They exit the hill, and now we'll wait and see whether Glenn Seaton has anything left in reserve. I rather doubt it. A couple of lap cars to deal with. One of them, the Lansvale Smash repairs, Commodore, the Ashby Reed car, as they take the last lap board. Sweeping down to the left-hander at the kink. Here's Johnson up on the inside of the Ashby Reed car. Then goes John Bowen, the number 18 car. Seaton sits right in behind him. So Jones clear.
Lansvale could be a spoiler here if Bow doesn't get into the right position.
He will. There he goes. And good. So does Glenn.
Good driving there by Steve Reid.
The exit to Hungary Corner, now up to the top of the hill for the final time. Tony Longhurst has thrown everything at these cars today. Horsepower has beaten him. Last corner is coming up. Well, he won the World Formula One Championship a week ago. He won the Bathurst 12-hour, and today he strikes gold. Once again at Lakeside, Alan Jones takes the win from Dick Johnson, John Bowen and Glenn Seaton, almost in a photo finish with Longhurst finishing back in 5th. Let's check them out on the Shell race score. Well done, Alan Jones. He just keeps on winning. Dick Johnson finished 2nd, John Bowen was 3rd, Glenn Seaton 4th, and Tony Longhurst 5th.